Hi, thank you for joining me in listening to the story, The Fall of Jericho. In our story of Jericho, our leader is named Moses, and he leads the people out of Egypt. Okay, you have your listening ears on. For many years, the people of Israel lived and worked as slaves in Egypt. A leader named Moses saved them. He led them out of Egypt. God had promised the people of Israel that they would return to their home in Canaan. Canaan lay to the east of Egypt. They would have to travel a long way to reach this promised land. They were led first by Moses, then by a wise man named Joshua. For 40 years, Moses led the people of Israel through many lands. Moses died before they could reach Canaan. His place was taken by Joshua. To reach Canaan, the people would have to cross the river Jordan. After crossing the river Jordan, they would have to capture the city of Jericho. Jericho was in Canaan. The people who lived there were enemies of the people of Israel. They would fight hard to defend their city, which was surrounded by strong walls. When Joshua and his people reached the river, Joshua made his plans. He sent 2 men to swim across the river and find a way into the city. "Find out all you can about the city and come back quickly," said Joshua. Nobody saw the men as they slipped into the city at night. They wandered around, taking care not to be seen by any of the soldiers of the king of Jericho. It did not take them long to see that it would not be easy for Joshua and his army to capture Israel. They happened to meet a woman named Rahab. She let them stay in her house. Rahab believed in the God of Israel. "God gave this land to the people of Israel," she said. "I will help you." The king of Jericho learned about the 2 men in Rahab's house. He sent soldiers to capture them. Rahab heard that the soldiers were coming. She hid the 2 men on the roof of her house. Then she waited for the soldiers to arrive. When the soldiers came, Rahab said, "The 2 men have left my house. I do not know who they were." The soldiers went back to the king. That night, Rahab went up to the roof. She took a red rope with her. The 2 men were waiting for her. "Climb down this rope to the street," she said. "Leave the city as quickly as you can." Rahab told the men she was afraid that her family would be hurt when Joshua's army captured Jericho. "Tie this rope to your window after we have gone," said one of the men. "We will tell Joshua about the red rope," said the other man. "No man of Israel will harm your house and family." The 2 men slipped to the ground. They managed to get out of the city in the darkness. They went back to Joshua. "Many of us will be killed if we attack that city," they told Joshua. "First," said Joshua, "we must cross the river Jordan. Then we will think about the city." God had spoken to Joshua. He told him how the people of Israel could cross the river. Joshua gave the order to march forward. The priests led the way. They carried the golden ark. The ark was a large box with 2 flat stones inside it. The 10 commandments were carved on the stones. The people of Israel came to the river. Joshua said to the priests, "Walk across the river." The water was deep. The priests stepped forward. Then something wonderful happened. The river stopped flowing. The riverbed dried up. There was no water in the river. "It is God's work," said Joshua. All the people crossed to the other side. They took all their food, their sheep and cattle, and everything they owned with them. As soon as everyone had crossed, the water started to flow again. The people praised God. Joshua and his people marched a long way to Jericho. They stood looking at the strong walls of the city. "There is no chance of breaking through those stone walls," said one of Joshua's men. "It would be foolish to try and attack that city." Joshua smiled when he saw that his men were afraid. "Do not be afraid," he said. "God has told me what to do. The women and children will stay here in camp. All the men will follow me. 7 priests must march with us." Joshua said, "Each priest will carry a trumpet. 4 other priests will carry the ark behind us." Then Joshua rode forward. Every day, for 6 days, the army marched once around the city. The priests blew their trumpets. The 7th day was different. That day, the army marched around the city 7 times. Then Joshua cried out, "Now shout!" Everyone shouted. The walls of Jericho fell down with a crash. The people of Israel rushed into the city. As promised, Rahab and her family were not harmed. Now the people of Israel could go home. What do you think? Did you enjoy that story? I hope so. Maybe you can share the story with your mother, your father, or one of your siblings. Thank you for listening.